Right, welcome back. Good morning. And now 7 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning. Good to see you once again. Being a Monday, it's now time for us to take a look at what's happening in the political arena. Are you ready for that? Yes, I'm ready, and my guests are also ready in studio. I want to take a look at what is really happening in the political arena, what is really making us talk politics in this country. For today, the past days, and of course the number of days to come. I'll also start with the front page of the daily paper, local dailies. And also on that note, then we get into the political segment. Before then, let me just welcome my guests already in studio. I must admit again that somebody is going, Wakili, why did the Wakili go to the washroom? The bathroom?
There are many reasons. But the main reason is that it's a function that can't be, it's a function that must force you to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, but there are many reasons. Yeah. The other reasons are that a person could go to spruce himself up, or to spruce herself up. Yes. The other reason is that you just wanted to enjoy the ambience of the place. So there are many reasons. Okay.
I don't know why King David is laughing at that question, because I asked that question intentionally. Why did the lawyer go to the bathroom? To sue and sue?
Yes, exactly.
If you get my point.
Yes, now you have it.
King David, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You took some time to load that.
Yes. You know, sometimes you'd listen and meditate.
Right.
So on this one, it's good to meditate.
Good to see you.
Because sometimes people run and you look at what is chasing them and you don't understand. Good to see you too, Victor.
Karibu sana.
Just for the listeners, probably our duty is to sue. So when you go to the toilet, you go and sue. So it's a business to sue.
I see. Now you get it.
Thank you.
So that's sue times 2. Raise to power 2. Mark Ndingo, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you as well as Eric Muturi. He calls himself Muturi Adude. I don't need to run away from that. That is his nickname, and it will have to stick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hear you have very intellectual jokes this morning. and you know our pin, I'm not sure whether it's a king pin, but let's use the pin. Our pin from Mulima has said, you know, we are not very clever. Hatujui maneno mingi. That's when you share intellectual jokes on the set, you lose some of us. So you need to discuss these matters in a language
the king,
that the person from Murima, can understand.
Now that you have the pin, the king is here.
At least we know the pin is there. Yes. What we are not sure is the king part.
Okay.
Yes.
I get to understand that. I will try and relocate where that king is. But gentlemen, thank you so much for coming as always. Let me start with the front page of the local dailies very fast. Dilemma of having convict for police boss. That is what I have on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Dilemma of having convict for police boss. There you have it. That is acting IG, Masengeli. And now the Standard is putting it in black and white. Dilemma of having convict for police boss. And that is what I have here. The country is waiting to see if Acting Inspector General of Police will serve his prison sentence as directed by the courts, even as the lawyers and activists mull over options should he decide to ignore the court order. He says he will appeal the decision. So let me quote what LSK President, that is Faith Odhiambo, said, that the court has jurisdiction over the acting IG and there are other constitutional avenues we will consider. What did Caleb Wanga, Usalama Executive Director, say? That this is a complex issue. The IG's office is under scrutiny. Someone might file a case to declare him unfit for office. Still on the front page. A Pregnos court order on fuel levy, and motorists will now have to pay. Why fracking is making news in the US. And tea farmers await bonus after protest. That is what is here on the front page. Again, what jobs? Germany denies Ruto 250,000 deal. What jobs? Germany denies Ruto 250,000 job deals, whereas Kenya and Germany signed a labor deal that will see Kenyans get jobs in Europe. The number being touted is incorrect, according to German officials. And finally, to the president, loyalty supersedes competence. That is what's on the front page of the Standard newspaper. 2 years into his administration, President William Ruto has shown his rewards, that he rewards loyalty, sometimes at the expense of merit. And health matters, there's a cost to why Mpox vaccine will not be available to all. So you can take a look at the front page. There's a sneak peek of what's on the front page of the Standard newspaper. But let me start with you, David, again. Dilemma of having convict for police boss in 1 minute, if you can. 7 court orders, none was honored. And now here we are. He's been convicted.
Thank you, Victor. I think the jokes in Kenya are taken to the extreme. In Kenya, there is a lot of jokes and activism. We are now suffering a case where we have too much of judicial activism that, to my thinking as an individual, you do things to the extreme. We want to use examples because history is never wrong. Sometimes back, they sent their former DCI boss, Kinoti, to committee, and he was ordered to report to the prison and something of that sort. Up to date, Kinoti has never been to committee. So I don't know why the judge would think by ordering Masengeli to go to the commander of the Commission of Prisons would help make things better. So I think there need to be a better and clear way of these systems correlating. Why do I say that? Police are the clients of the court. Police arrest people, take to the court, court jails people, police carries them to the prison. And so if you tell the police boss to go and report to the prisons, then it becomes a very serious conflict. I think there need to be a better way of solving issues that we are facing as a country, especially matters of court cases. My friend Wakil here, we usually argue on that statement so much of court orders. It is okay. The courts can issue court orders right, left, and center if they want to. But then let's be very clear on how we want them implemented and why we are issuing them. Issue something that is practical, realistic, and doable. Don't just do it for the purposes of making a name and people laughing and smiling, and in the long run, it embarrasses you because the fact, between me and you, chances of Masengeli going to prison because he was in prison for 6 months are very minimum. If there is any, it might not work. So I think in Kenya, we need to work out this. We need to find a way of correlating. We need to find a way of having a consensus on matters national security and matters law and everything as the systems work. We need to have respect towards each institution. Police respect the judiciary. Judiciary love others. It is like one big family. We need one another. We need to make this country work, and we must avoid judicial activism.
How do you think this should have been handled?
I think there is a way we could have a better relating on matters dealing with, like they say, they needed police to present some people who have been missing. I think there is a better way of judiciary finding out what exactly is happening, because at some point, the acting IG did not appear, but sent the assistant, sent some people from his office to go and represent him. But then the judge says we don't want anybody else, but it must be the IG, which makes it...
Because he was the accused person.
Even though, you know, you are not accusing individual, we are accusing the institution. It is not Masengeli who has an issue. It is the IG who has an issue. And I want to think that even if Masengeli, for some reason, ceased to be the acting IG, that case will still stand against the police of Kenya. So it is not about a person. It is about an institution. And if it is an institution, then let's find a better module of dealing with issues. One, if I cannot be there, and Kithi here, we work together, I sent him to represent me, then let's respect that part, that we have a representation, we have a voice from this institution.
Would you, I'm trying to avoid this word, common mwananchi, because to me there's nobody common. But let me use this now that it's there. Now you are supposing, or you are suggesting that there should be a better way that the two arms of government should be working.
Yes.
The judiciary and the other side of the police. You'd imagine if a common mwananchi was summoned 7 times. 7 times. So that person, that common mwananchi right now should have been under some...
And that is the same
argument.
Somewhere. That is the same argument we've had, because after the judge issues orders that Masengeli should report to the prison, then he says, however, we are giving you 7 days. 7 days, you can change this by appearing. Meaning, there is nothing as comparable to a common mwananchi like we would want it to be. He has already given it a special lining. He has given it some sugar coating that, yes, this is just a threat.
All right.
We are threatening you. Do it or we come for you, which is wrong.
I like your argument. Wakili, dilemma of having convict for police force.
I'll argue that and present it, sorry for my voice.
No problem.
As a lawyer. Let me tell you something. You can run away from the law if you want, because of the power enclosed or insulating you at the time. We'll get you. We will get you. Nobody is above the law. Nobody, including the president. Nobody. And therefore, Masengeli better learns early that he can't run away every day. We're going to get him. We are saying so because as LSK, we prosecuted people's children. We prosecuted cases where people's children have been killed by bullets without justification. We have prosecuted cases where people have been abducted, children of mothers who are nobodies in this country because of poverty and circumstances presented to them, forced upon them by society. So we are saying there is something called command responsibility. Command responsibility is not about assistants coming to give a story that my boss is not available, he is chasing some bandits elsewhere. When we summon you, we summon you. And an order of a court is an order of a court to everyone, you, me, Masengeli, and the president, and anyone else. So it doesn't matter how long he runs away because he's close with certain powers and some bodyguards. We will get him. And there's nothing rationalizing about that. The law is the law is the law. It remains as much. So we will get Masengeli. Whether he leaves office or not, the disobedience of a court order is personal. We will get Masengeli. I can assure you. So it's not a threat. It's about a threat by the law itself. Threatening everyone. Because that's the duty of the law. To be able to threaten everyone into submission and therefore deterrence. He better obeys the law because it is a must. There's no option. We can't put up a constitution and then the constitution applies to you and me. We pay taxes to put someone in office. That person thinks he can run away from the law. He won't run away from the law. We will get him. I can assure you he'll be in court. And if it is going the first time that we're going to jail a person of that high standing, we will jail him. We have seen governors going. He's not going to be the first high-profile person to go to jail. We will get him. And I can assure you. Because the only way is that he should use the same courts that he does not want to appear to be able to secure his freedom. Because his freedom now is constrained. Freedom of movement. Freedom to work in the office that he's working. He's not supposed to work in that office. He is supposed to be in jail. So what is the point here? The point is, if you don't want to go to the courts because you think that you can run away from the orders of the court and its jurisdiction, but you have to appear before the courts again to be able to challenge the order or set it aside if you have to. So obviously he has to appear before the courts. There are no two ways about it. The courts have made orders. He does not want to appear before the court, but he has to access the courts for purposes of making a representation of himself and the excuses to be excused from serving a jail sentence. So he must appear before the courts. That's what I'm saying. We will get him somehow, somewhat. Right. And let me say this. People can flap in the air in the manner that they want. Ultimately, the law is going to catch up with them. It's about the law. We in this country, we exist because of the law. Not like we like each other, not like we love each other, no. Because the laws have delineated boundaries. Somehow, somewhat, I have a duty, you have a duty to tolerate me, and I have to tolerate you. If you don't, then the law has to take its course. How else do we serve ourselves in this country as citizens without the law? Because we are different. From different tribes, from different background. The commonality is that we are in a certain geographical area that is regulated by law. So everybody is under the law. And by the way, he is not serving that sentence because of an office. That office exists because we've said it exists. And he came to occupy that office not as a right, but in trust of the people of Kenya based on law. So it is the law that keeps him there. It is the law that he serves. It is the law that he must obey. He will obey it.
He will obey it. Mark Ndingo, what next?
Although I think we live in a society where we are never serious. There must be law and order in our systems. I think one would argue that we've had many of these court orders before, and none has been followed. But I think it will reach a time where something has to be done, because you cannot live in a society where some people are so special than others. If it were a small, let me call him a small person, or the common mwananchi, so to say, if it was a common mwananchi who had stolen a chicken, that person could have been jailed a long time ago. But here you find a police inspector who has been given the authority to run the security system. And many things have happened, and if this person wants to continue being the Inspector General of our police, I think the best thing for him would have to obey the court order. So I think one thing I want to say, I want to thank the Law Society of Kenya for taking up this matter. And I'm sure with the kind of unity they have of recent times, I think they will find a solution to, at least for one, to have Masengeli being jailed, because there's no need of having our constitution if we can't follow it. We can't follow the constitution. We must have some order in our systems, so that we can, at least we can have a society where we live in peace and harmony. Yes.
We've seen the way Wakile said, some governors actually are serving their sentences right now. They've been accused after several years of court battles here and there. But I'm looking at this. So where's the dilemma? Eric, law is law, and we have the police boss. So there must be a dilemma. Who is going to arrest him first of all?
I think the issue is not a dilemma of who is going to arrest him, because that is neither here nor there. I think the thing is, sometimes when I look at Masengeli, I get him, he's an important man, just been confirmed the other day. He really is an important man in as far as the country is concerned. And sometimes, if Mohammed refuses to go to the mountain, then it is the prerogative of the mountain to go to Mohammed. So I think the judiciary should have put their house in order and go and look for Masengeli, because he is important. I mean, how else would you put it? If you're summoned 7 times and you're very busy, because the court is not busy, if the court is sitting 7 times, it means the court is not busy. So the court itself should have put its house in order and go and look for Masengeli wherever he is and find out the information from Masengeli himself, because Masengeli is an important man. Now, having said that, and take that with a pinch of salt, I must say that there are prevailing circumstances that warranted Masengeli to be ordered to go to court. And the issue is disappearances of people under police hands. Because sometimes when we look at the context of Masengeli refusing to go to court, we might escape the fact that in the first instance, why is Masengeli being summoned? There are children who have died in the hands of the police, and the court is asking the Inspector General to go and explain the whereabouts of the 3 people. There is nothing, I always say this, in this country, be careful not to be poor. In whatever you do, Because when you're poor, you're affected by court orders. When you're poor and there are floods, you're affected by floods. When you're poor and there is hunger, you're affected by famine. In essence, the worst thing that can happen to you in this country is, one, to lack power, and secondly, to be poor. Now, the mistake that those three people made for their lives to be lost was the fact that they were poor and no one knew them. And you can contrast that against a powerful Masengeli who has no time to go to court. Now, the judge did say that they have given him 7 days for him to appear. And I think he did quote something, precedence. You know, Juma had been jailed in South Africa. And he quoted that as precedent. But if I were Masengeli, I wouldn't go. I would give the court the contempt it deserves. Because that court is for poor men. It's for men without power. Why would I go? And so, in my considered opinion, after those 7 days, Masengeli will not appear. I mean, if I'm friends with the president, I sit in the National Security Council, a very powerful institution. Who is a judge to summon me? You tell me, who is a judge? Does a judge sit in the National Security Council? No, he doesn't. Who provides security to the judges? It is the Inspector General who provides security and protection to them. So who needs the other? And so my point is, it is time the mountain went to Mohammed, because there is no possibility of Mohammed going to the mountain.
Okay. I have to admit, the level of sarcasm here is on another level.
But Victor, before you go...
Can we just take a break?
Victor, before you take a break, there is something that the Wakili has spoken to passionately.
David, let's just take a break.
Just a minute. Just a minute. You know, when you say you must and he's going to appear, and we have had these cases. We had the likes of Akina Matiang'i and the other former IG, and this one which is happening. Kinoti was prisoned. Let's leave Matiang'i and others. Kinoti was imprisoned, but he never appeared
Did you listen to what he said?
He has not.
Did you listen to what he said?
The argument,
David, let me just put it this way. The law is created for you and me.
True. For
all of us.
Very true.
The only person at this particular point, perhaps Wakili will tell us, is the president. But thereafter, true, Wakili?
Yep.
But after?
But you need to qualify who is you and me. Because that's where the problem is. When you say the law is created
the law
for
is
you
for
and
everyone.
me.
Let me just put the law, the constitution is for all of us.
But even everyone is not justifiable.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break.
Let's obey for everyone.
Let's obey the law production.
We must define everyone clearly.
We'll be right back with more. Stay with us. Okay. All right, welcome back. Now, allow me to do this in under 20 seconds. Let me take you through the traffic. If you're coming from Thika Road, the traffic along Thika Road is not good. That is what I can tell you from here. Actually, the traffic starts at around Muthaiga Square. It goes back up to around Outer Ring Road. That is bumper to bumper. Both the highway and the express, the service lane and the expressway. The direction heading towards the DCI headquarters is also not so good. That is what I can see from here. If you are coming from Kiambu Road, then be patient, or kaa tu kwa traffic ukitulia tu pole pole. That is what I have. Wayaki Way coming all the way from ABC Place, nothing much to report about. The only problem is around Muguga Estate, that's around Safaricom Center as you come into Western Roundabout. After that, the entire stretch is moving fine as you head into the CBD. Looking at the Aerodrome Road, just right behind Nyayo National Stadium, it's already bumper to bumper. That is what I have here. But the entire stretch of Mombasa Road, all the way from Capital Center, you can look at that. It's okay. Kila kitu iko sawa. Langata Road today around Airport View Estate, there is a bit of a mess. So be patient, or you can take an alternative route getting through Kibra and ultimately to Ngong Road. You can use that. That's a very good idea to have that bypass. So that's a quick one. I'll take you through the other parts of the city and other towns later on. But now, let me come back to the front page of the... I want us to skip that issue of Masengeli. And now, Gachagua skips Ruto events, fallout deepens. That is what's on the front page of the Star newspaper, the bigger pardon. Gachagua skips Ruto events, fallout deepens. That is what I hear here. Move comes on week of drama after 69 MPs endorsed CS Kithure Kindiki. And now we have the president here. He was in Nyeri, and the deputy president was in India. All of them attended a church function on Sunday. But from what happened yesterday, the deputy president was a no-show, and his seat was there. Again, let me go on the front page of this Daily Nation. Secret deals rock Ruto's regime. Secret deals rock Ruto's regime. Controversial big money deals brokered behind a cloud of secrecy by President William Ruto. Ruto's administration, including Indian conglomerate Adani Group's bid to take over Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, have sparked protests and spawned court cases. Now, with potential dire ramifications for Kenyan taxpayers. That is what is here. Now, why universities and schools are in turmoil, this is something that will be discussed over and over again. And perhaps this is the picture I was talking about. We have got former CS, Moses Kuria, here, and we have the official seat of the DP. It all, quote unquote, sat there. The whole event when the president was in Nyeri, the seat sat there, with the president waiting for his deputy, and he was a no-show. So that seat had no occupant. The deputy president was in India. Let me just have to mention, again on the front page of the Daily Nation, Arsenal won 1-0. Whatever you do, that information is all up to you. Gentlemen, let me come back to the discussion. So we are all here. Let's talk about politics now. I'll come back to the front pages later on. So, David, who is playing who? Number 2 was a no-show at a presidential function. Do you think it was realistic?
Yes, it was realistic because his seat was there empty. So it was very realistic that the deputy president decided intentionally, I think, because this is a team that works together. Deputy president and presidency, they all belong to presidency. And the itinerary of president, I'm very sure, is shared, is privy to the deputy president. If deputy president chooses not to honor an invitation to president's event,
yes,
then that is intentional. But now let's look at the politics around this issue. What is clear here right now, it seems like Murima has become so slippery. And like my brother said, if Muhammad cannot go to the mountain, mountain goes to him. I think the deputy president has been forcing Murima to go to him, and now things have turned around with many legislators choosing to endorse Kithure Kindiki, who is a serving CS to be their political kingpin. It is politics in its own making. It tells you that we are communicating a statement. We do not want to go this direction. Whether good or bad for the region and for the national politics, I think it is, I looked at it and I imagined the situation that was there during President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy Ruto. Back then, President Ruto had mastered an act of creating an environment of sympathy, and it worked for him. Deputy President Rigathi right now is trying to create that environment of sympathy, but it isn't working in his favor because he is forcing sympathy down the throat of people who would have sympathized with him. Number 2, every leader who you want them to support you, you need to, at some point, try to indicate some sort of humility. But now we have a deputy president here who every day goes in front of people and telling them, I am the man. I am the deputy president. You must listen, or if you don't listen, that is, I'll tell the ground to divorce you. And so when you threaten leaders and they feel you are threatening them, they will teach you a lesson, which means they will distance themselves from you. You start walking alone, and then you fall into isolation. So what happened in Nyeri yesterday was a true picture of isolation in the office of the deputy president. He's the man walking alone, and that is too dangerous for any politician who wants to achieve something big.
We all know the politics of perception, and that's what politics all meant to do. You create the perception and make sure that it sticks.
But make it right. Don't make the wrong perception. You might create a wrong perception which will work against you. This perception can work for or against you. I've just used an example of Deputy President William Ruto then, who created that perception and it worked in his favor. And now we have a Deputy President in the name of Rigathi Gachagua today who is creating that perception but working against him because he is disconnecting with leaders who could have supported him. Attacking them and saying all manner of things are against them. So in their defense, they also choose to fight using the same ground that you are saying you are listening to.
Now there is, let's conclude, so there's no problem between the number one and number two?
There isn't.
Very good. Wakili?
Let me put it this way. Sorry. I'm not sure whether this is the best example. Let me just try it. You see, there used to be an old man in the mountain, their mountain, who had a family. In the evening, he used to go to the bar to take one or two and comes back home. And he had a wife, a very stable family. The wife, because of the nature of the family, well-to-do, was a bully and used to talk down on people, including the barmaid where the man used to go and take his drink and come back. So one evening, this old man goes to the bar and come back with a barmaid in the house as his second wife. And therefore, this disgruntled the wife, the first wife in the circumstances. But the children were happy because the bully obviously had been contained. And of course, because there's a new wife, the meals changed and the environment changed. And some were celebrating, but she was constantly in tears. And therefore, the first wife stopped accompanying the husband to church and to functions because she was complaining. You know, in court, we deal with divorce matters. The divorce matters are very, very difficult to handle because there's no logic application. It's emotions. We literally argue emotions before court. And the argument eventually ends into something called if the marriage is irretrievably broken or not. So this old man who goes to the bar and comes back in the evening is the president. The wife, inseparably in that union, is the deputy president. But the deputy president used to talk down at Raila Odinga, who eventually comes into the household as a second wife. But he comes down with his children, Joho, Oparanya, and so and so. And the children are celebrating because now there's peace because the woman is not shouting at them anymore. And therefore, at several functions, the deputy of that family, who is the wife, does not accompany the president to all this show, so she becomes a no-show. Eventually, therefore, we expect Rigathi Gachagua to be a no-show in many of these functions, because it's an emotional meltdown, an emotional breakdown. Is it irretrievably broken, as we will say it in law? I think it's headed there. Because the emotions can't be contained. To contain the emotions of Rigathi Gachagua is very difficult.
Let me also give
and therefore, at times,
yes, he
is going to act unreasonably in protest. So we may rationalize it, but it's a personal emotion in him.
Let me also give it this way. In a family setup, 1 year in marriage is always, for honeymoon and all manner of good things in a marriage.
And the food is good.
And the food is good.
Yes.
Everything in the house is always very good and rosy. But then, you can't tell me that 1 year down the line, the veil is already dropped and you're seeing the other side of your partner.
It happens.
He's the worst man ever. He's the worst woman. He's the worst cook.
We've done divorces after 6 months.
Even 1
yes,
month.
It happens.
Even 1 month.
You can fight the first day.
Okay.
You didn't know the guy is snoring. I mean, you can do that. so yes, I can tell you, marriage is difficult, such as this one. The union of presidents, how we did it in the Constitution, this is what we said. If you are a president, you must get married to someone else.
Okay.
A deputy president.
Mark,
and you're inseparable in that union.
Mark, what happened in your marriage after 1 year?
It's true. Marriage,
quote unquote.
Marriages can even break even after 1 month.
Yes.
It all depends on how
the foundation you
have started, because that's the time now you start knowing
But
each other.
ideally, do you think there's a problem?
But I think there is no problem. What is there is a well-crafted plan for the next elections. This one, they are not even looking at 2027. They are looking at who is going to take over from Ruto in 2032. This plan was crafted a long time ago. You remember immediately, even after less than 6 months, we started having some MPs from Rift Valley moving around with Ndidi Nyoro, telling people, this is our leader, this is the man to use so that we can reach to the president. And it continued. And you know, in politics, once you notice something is happening against you, you have to find a way of countering that. So what is happening is they are trying to find a way of doing away with the DP. And this plan had to be started early enough so that they can have some time to get the numbers. So the plan of, I think Ndidi Nyoro did not, it was interrupted by the Gen Zs because the president got some 2 problems, one from the Gen Z and the other one was from the DP. So I think after that time, now they have come up with another plan to front the interior minister. And this one has to continue because you remember even when the president was nominating the DP, most of the youthful MPs were not for the DP, for the current DP. They were rooting for this other guy, Kidiki.
Yes.
So what I'm seeing is a continuation of what they wanted. And, you know, in politics, the more things change, the more they remain the same. So I think the president is using the same way the former president used to try to demonize your DP, maybe to force him to resign. And if he doesn't resign, they can find a way of removing him from the position through impeachment. That's why he had to bring in the ODM and to see whether he can get the numbers. So I think what we have is not a problem. It's a plan. It's a plan, long-term plan for 2 elections, 2027 and 2030.
So there is, again, the same question I asked David. So there's no problem between number 1 and number 2. All this thing is a political, as you can say, political power play.
No, there's no problem.
Okay.
All this is a political plan. For
Nothing happens by coincidence.
Yeah,
okay, so look at it this way. Eric, before I ask that question, what is your take on that?
Let me put it this way. One, that seat was planted, the empty seat. You know, in politics, visuals are very important. So they knew the deputy president was not coming for the simple reason that the president did send Waigoro, the governor, with 2 million Kenya shillings in the fundraiser where Rigiji was. So they knew for a fact that Rigiji was not coming. Okay, so they knew there was an event happening because I think it was the AIPCA church or one of the churches. They were holding centenary celebrations. So they knew the DP was not coming. And therefore, they put the seat deliberately so that the camera could focus and see that the seat was vacant. He was no-show. And you see, in politics, that's very powerful. And the DP had no opportunity to defend himself because it was clear he was a no-show. Because if the seat was not there, the matter would have gone very quiet. You know, people would have just said he did not show up, that's it. Yeah. But when the seat is vacant, everyone who is looking and everyone who is following the function, once in a while the media zooms the empty seat and the labeling His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, and everyone can see that that seat is vacant. So I think it was orchestrated that the seat should remain that way. But let me tell you why we are where we are as Murima, because I also come from the mountain. So now there are 2 mountains now. There is the leeward and the windward side. Now depending on where you are, it's either raining or it's very dry, depending on which side of the mountain you are. But this is what happened in the mountain. So President William Ruto, through our elders in the Kikuyu region, asked us to go for a swim in the river. So we obliged and we went. And because he's very convincing, our elders were the first to follow him. You know, our elders are very powerful in the community. When they tell us things like protecting Odhamaki and stuff like that. So when they got to the river, William convinced them that you cannot swim with clothes. Let us remove our clothes and swim. So what did our elders do? They removed all their clothes, including Rigiji, and they entered into the river. But now, William did not remove his clothes. He stayed at the bank. He said, you proceed. Now when they were inside swimming, William gathered all the clothes. And he said he has gotten an emergency.
I'll be back.
Now, the challenge is here. Even though we want to get out of the river, there is a small complication. Because now, the children are somewhere on the riverbed, and it's not possible for the elders to come out now because William has gone with the clothes. So we entered this river without clothes, which is a political party. So William left now with his political party, which is UDA. Now we are in the river, we are naked, we don't have anything. So we have to beg William to be merciful to us. And actually, we now have to beg William to come back and return the clothes. Because as far as now it is, what do we do? So the deputy president has decided to be brave enough and come out the way he is, Sasa, unajua kikiumana, sasa unasema sasa, afadhali kutoka vile huko. And he's receiving a lot of backlash because, it's not a very good sight. But the fact is, as Murima, that is where we are. We do not have clothes. It is time now to reorganize. Some people have decided to send Kindiki to see whether he can come back and salvage the situation.
Why Murima? Why Murima? I think I got it wrong. Why Murima?
No, you see, Murima, the reason is this. The Murima, one, is not easily divided when it comes to votes. It's a vote-rich basket, okay? Because if you go to Luya land, once it is time to eat, they all segregate. They say, I'm Bukusu, I'm this, I am that. But in Murima, Ameru, Akikuyu, Adaraka, all those, the Kikuyu from Muranga and the Kikuyu from Kiambu, it doesn't matter. When it comes to the basket, we all put our votes together and give it in one basket. So what is happening now, as I said, the Murima now has two sides, the windward and the leeward. You can clearly tell the deputy president is on the leeward side now. It is a dry side. Because now, his influence is neutered. He doesn't have a lot of influence now. You can tell that he is more emotional than strategic. He's always angry. When you ask him who's he's angry over, he doesn't know. And he's walking right into the traps that have been set for him by ostensibly the president and Professor Kindiki. And you see, wanasema muiba wa kujidunga, hauna pole. So the mess that the deputy president finds himself in is a mess that he himself has participated in creating. Look at the people following him. There is the former MP. Is he a former MP? The lady, Mama Simba. Was she an MP? Waruguru. Yeah. Was she an MP? She was nominated CAS, then Gen Z wakapita na CAS. So now she doesn't have anything. The senator for Nyandarua is also following him. And Major Dong. The people following him, remember, were summoned by the DCI as being part of the team that were fomenting and orchestrating the Gen Z protests. Allegedly. Right. Including storming into parliament. So a narrative has already been created around those that are following the deputy president. But the mistake that the deputy president is doing is that he's not allowing himself time to digest and receive advice on how he needs to get out of that situation. And I can tell you, it's going to get murkier for him.
Just hold on to that. So let's look at it this way, gentlemen, because a country has to be run, David. Do you think the mountain has a king? He said people went to the river to swim, and here we are. No clothes. I don't know what's happening now that it's about, there's a crocodile just down there and you also have to come back. But in this situation, there is an end game to this. What is the end game?
There must be an end game, and from the look of things, with members of parliament from Mount Kenya region coming together and endorsing Professor Kindiki. And not only that, we see even elders joining in. When I saw the likes of the former Meru governor, Kiraitu Murungi,
the crocodile,
coming out openly and saying, we have supported the Kikuyu side. It is now time they also support the Meru side. So these fellows from Mrima are already strategic. The only fellow who is not very strategic, like my brother says, is the deputy president himself.
Okay.
So to get out of this, there are two things.
What if he's strategic? What if he knows what is happening?
Of course,
he knows.
Every good leader must know what is happening.
He knows what is happening.
He does. He knows what is happening.
There is a difference between knowing and acting on knowledge. So he knows what is happening,
he knows,
but he's unable to act on the knowledge that he has acquired.
So that is my question. What if he knows?
But not necessarily. I think he's strategic. Let me put it this way, and that's my reading. I may be right.
David, you'll come back.
Yes.
Okay.
Look at it this way. The deputy president was not, he did not organize the politics of Mlima during the last elections. They didn't rally around him. So it can be said that he did not deliver the Mlima votes to the president. No, he didn't. He was put there for purposes of symbolism, that we have a deputy president from Mlima. But he didn't organize them, so he was not, the Mlima did not organize themselves behind him. It was basically an agreement of Mlima and the president, all right? Now, when you come to the table, and the reason why he was put there could be twofold. The first one, did he have the votes? And number two, what resources are you bringing for purposes of the elections? So either you have the money or you have the numbers.
Yeah.
He didn't have the numbers. Mlima was not his at that time. So he didn't present Mlima as votes, the entire vote basket to the president. Now that has been, opportunity has been expended, we are dealing with what is on the table for everyone. It's politics. So where are the numbers? He didn't have the numbers. He didn't have the numbers in the first place. Whatever he presented for the campaign. But now that we are dealing with numbers of Mlima, because we are projecting elections in 2027, that issue is moot. It is moot because he has to have the numbers. And because he knows his weakest point now is that he doesn't have the numbers, he retreats. Because for me, I need to have a president, but I need to have a president and a deputy president. I have a president, but I don't have a deputy president because constantly, persistently, continuously, he wants to talk about Mlima. So even in his politics, he is disenfranchising some of us as if that he is a president of Mlima, is the deputy president of Mlima alone. So now, when he retreats, the two things, he retreats because he wants to be the spokesperson of Mlima for purposes of getting the clientele base that he needs most, for purpose of a bargain in 2027.
Okay.
When he does that, it can work for him, because if he doesn't, but in the process, he hurts himself politically, because my imaging of him is that he is not the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya.
These are planned by the political think tanks.
He is disenfranchising people in the way he is approaching the politics, but in the process, he is being disenfranchised again by those that are planning against him.
David, I ask a question. What if the whole of this power play is well orchestrated? Not what if, it is orchestrated.
Yes,
but let me put it this way, what if?
Yes, it is well orchestrated, but now the delivery strategy is very poor. Why do I say that? You see, let's assume the strategy in the king of Mrima's mind is, I fight, I struggle, I do everything, then I'll tell people, let's form our own party. So who are you forming this party with? Because the problem and the biggest challenge we have, political parties require numbers. They need people who will work with you. And now, from the look of things, you know, I saw the women rep for Kirinyaga speaking very loud, defending Rigiji yesterday. And I wondered if we have the women rep from Kirinyaga, Senator of Kiambu and Nyandarua, and Major Dong, and you say you want to form a political party representing Mrima, and then we have the the other 69 who are still fighting you or against you, that is a very poor strategy. So if it is a strategy we are going to use, his is a poor one. He has a plan, but implementing strategy is poor.
69 was a very good year. This is a song. 69 was a very good year. He talked about the leeward side and the windward side. So let's take a look at the weather forecast. Which side is the windward and which is the leeward? As we take a break. We'll be right back. Kimani Ichung'wah said there is a snake, a venomous snake, that is actually that he wanted the president to shed off that venomous snake. From what you are looking at, Mark, let me come back to you now. And from whatever is happening, I'll go to play the other story where the president was in Nyeri yesterday, and the director, if you also have it, you can also put it ready. But then, talk of the president was there, and Kimani Ichung'wah telling the president, take heart. I mean, things are okay. Nothing much is happening. There is, I still repeat, an issue of play victim, but at the same time telling the king, relax, all is well.
Kimani Ichung'wah has a plan, and the plan is to keep on hitting on the DP. The reason why he's telling the president to shut off the snake part is it's to get it to the community that the problem with the government is not the president, is not the MPs. The president is the problem is with the DP. So that's the point Kimani Ichung'wah is trying to drive to the president. And I think the plan is also known to the president himself, because there is no way Ichung'wah can stand and start talking bad about the DP without the blessing of the president. Because there must be a plan, and there must be somebody who is going to rattle the DP. For one, either to push him to the corner so that he can resign, and if he doesn't resign, they still have the plan. They can, I think they can, given the situation, they can raise the numbers. So I think the people I can pity are the Murima people, because there is a plan, and I don't think anybody sees that plan. The plan with the president is him being a student of Moi is to divide Murima, and he's almost succeeding in dividing the Murima, because you have seen now they are focusing on the eastern part of the Murima, that is Meru, Embu, and Tharaka. And the moment they are going to succeed on that, he's going to look elsewhere for the DP. So I think that there are plans to divide the numbers of Murima so that he can now get other people, maybe from Nyanza or Western. And I think that's where the politics is going to be. Yeah.
So the background of this story is, yesterday when the president was in Nyeri, I want to give a background to this. The deputy president did not attend, all right? So he was in there. But as per the protocol, it was the area governor, that is Anne Waiguru, who delivered the president's message and his donation, while the deputy president was there. So at that particular point, their MP, Mr. Macharia, also delivered the president's apology. The deputy president was there. So this actually exposed the deputy president. Let's take a look at what happened in Nyeri.
Hii ni wakati ya kazi. As far as I know, uchaguzi uliisha. Ama iko uchaguzi? The next election is 2027. Nyinyi watu ya Baricho, mlinipatia kura tukiwa na rais. Vile governor amesema kila mtu afanye kazi yake. Rais apewe nafasi afanye kazi yake. Deputy President apewe nafasi afanye kazi yake.
Gachagua, who has been at the epicenter of heavy politicking, with some leaders plotting his impeachment, told off his critics, claiming the masses knew what to do and needed no guidance on who is best suited to lead them, as the development record will speak for itself come 2027.
Kila mtu ako na kazi yake. Wakati ukifika, watu watarudi kwa raia.
The lead.
So what do you make of that, Eric?
Well, I think the deputy president's goose is cooked. And I think he must accept to eat it. Because he's the one that prepared it, you see. If you prepare your bed, so you must be ready to lie on it. I think there's no two way about it. And I like what my colleague has said here. You know, the deputy president's strategy appears to be one of, like the one President William used, where you attract sympathy. But my colleague has said something interesting, that sometimes as an old man, you know, you might go to the market, remove your clothes and start bathing, hoping that people will sympathize with you. But then it becomes a shameful act, and people start asking, what on earth are you trying to do in front of the children and in front of people? And the deputy president must be very careful not to be seeking sympathy, and it backfires and attracts shame. I think for me, if he were to listen, 3 years in politics is a long time. It's actually a very long time.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes the seat that he has is secured constitutionally unless he's impeached. Now, impeachment will come with a lot of hula-baloo. I don't know whether the president wants to attempt that now. But if I were the deputy president, if you lie low now and you still go about your mountain activities, you still have a fighting chance. Because the reality is, when it comes to 2027, Mulima will be very important. But if that Mulima which you're seeking to defend now is isolated from you politically, then you will have nothing to put up in 2027, because everything will be gone. You know, sometimes nature can conspire to give you blessings. Even the MPs you see following Kindiki today.
The 69 of them.
69 of them. Tomorrow, Kindiki could make a mistake politically, and they could all disappear from him, and those MPs could be left as orphans. But as deputy president, have you created a conducive environment to reap should there be discord? Because, you know, sometimes you imagine that there is always discord on your end. But the truth is, when people are eating on the other side, they are likely to fight. Because, you know, sharing loot is not always easy. People will step on each other's toes, and some will decamp. The question is, are you ready to reap when there is discord on the other side? Have you opened your hands to an extent that you can receive from those that will be running away? And the answer is, as of now, no. Because he's fighting everyone. It's like when you give a madman a gun. You know, he shoots everywhere. The essence of a gun is to target. And I think that is where the deputy president is losing the plot. My considered opinion is that if you look at Murima and climbing the Murima, I think the deputy president has a lot of work to do. I think he's not properly geared to climb the mountain himself. He could pray facing it, which is okay, but I do not think he's ready to climb it.
Okay. Okay, look at that. Our topic today is political power play. So we have got the script writers, and there is always a plot in playwright. And now, I would imagine the think tanks and, you know, the creatives behind this play, they have a very good, you know, they have an introduction, there is a body to a play, and now there is a conclusion to the play. Sometimes the antagonist and the protagonist sometimes come to make peace, sometimes they go their separate ways. It depends on how they want to end the play. But then, what do you think they are trying to craft right now as they do this scripting of this political power play? That is perhaps is being staged in the Kenyan stage for Mwananchi to see and watch and have that perception that there is bad blood between number one and number two. You know, the mountain is split. But at the end of the script writers, there is something that they really want to achieve, either to end this play in suspense or close it once and for all.
Yeah, I think what is being served to the people is the messaging. Events will happen here and there, but there's the packaging element for purpose of consumption. So what is consumed then gets internalized and then creates a general psyche for the public. It then orients the public into a certain disposition that is supposed to deliver an eventuality. The eventuality being to subdue. Now, I have said here before, and I say it again, the business of politics is to conquer and dominate. If you conquer and dominate, then eventually the sum total of it is you become the king, either the queen, or whatever it is in terms of the competitive environment being subject by the politics of the day. There is a competitive environment now in the orientation of the presidency of this country. The president has to be dominant over the deputy president in as far as Mlima is concerned. The deputy president has to be dominant in Mlima in as far as the competitive politics is concerned, so that then he can serve Mlima upon a certain negotiation on a table. That orientation pits the president into a direct friction with the deputy president in the manner in which the script is being written. The consumption being that there's a disgruntlement in the heart and mind of the deputy president, and therefore does not play the constitutional calling of collective responsibility in the workings of the office of the presidency. The deputy president is the principal assistant of the president in the constitution, at least in law. He is supposed, therefore, to be working collectively under the principle of collective responsibility with the president. He is not supposed to chart his own office and officialdom for purposes of being seen as a man alone. But when he wants to man alone in the circumstances being presented for consumption, is that therefore he is disruptive of the presidency itself, disruptive of environment, disruptive of politics, and again, having brought the Raila Odinga's function into the fold of the government, it will mean eventually, of course, principally it was the Gen Z's protests that brought all that. But the sumptuous, service of the meal before the clientele base, who are the people, who are the voters, will be that this, if it was not for the president, wouldn't have happened. Because in the manner in which first, he is constantly and probably aggressively being seen as a mountain deputy president instead of the country. And therefore he's disenfranchising everyone, and in the mountain he's not getting it right, because even them, it's the fear is they can't walk out of a government now because of the manner in which that will be disastrous for purpose of the survival up to 3 years. Remember, after every election you have to survive into the next.
Yes.
And then at the next, somehow there must be a debate of certain biases. A bias to fill a basket, a bias to get the votes. So the debate will be which is the best bias, which is the most bias for purpose of putting somebody into power. Look, there is very little perception in this country being created that the deputy president can upset the president. That perception is not there. The perception was that Raila Odinga has the ability to upset the president in the next general election. That's really what has been packaged. But that the deputy president can upstage and
allow
upset.
me to bring it. You've mentioned Raila Odinga's name almost 3 times. Why are you bringing the Raila factor in this?
Because
as far as this
Raila Odinga is a very important factor in how he's fixed deputy president in this country. For him to agree to bring his opposition fault into the presidency in the manner which he did was very clever. He has, of course, disgruntled and disenfranchised the deputy president. Of course, Mountain has
got 8 slots.
Yes,
okay.
They remain there. But the relevance and dominance of Mlima, of the deputy president, in the manner in which the broad-based government has been formed, has definitely not given the deputy president the utility of the political utility he used to have. In fact, he has downsized the deputy president comparable to the environment, the political environment he used to exercise at the time before the broad-based government.
Okay.
So yes, Raila Odinga is a bigger factor and remains a bigger factor because he commands a constituency that if he delivers that constituency to William Ruto, hopefully he does, then that completely diminishes the ability of the deputy president, in fact, to have a say in this country in the next general election, on account of the fact that his numbers first is not oriented himself to the numbers, to the kingship that he wants, and number 2, he cannot deliver Mlima, and even if he does, a percentage of the same will not be able to upset
this question goes to all of you. We have 69 MPs. Let me start with you, Mark. 69 members of parliament from the mountain now rallying behind Kithure Kindiki, the CS. What do you think is the intention?
The intention is very clear. Is to have the mountain in the government, and also to find a way of replacing the DP. Because I think the president is using the same card he used during when he was a DP. You remember, he tried to have as many MPs as possible. The number was coming to about 150, and that helped him even to get the votes. You know, in politics, if you can manage to have the leaders on your side, you are very sure that any of those leaders can bring some votes to you. So what the moment the 69 MPs shifted their legacy to Kindiki, that gives us gives the president the numbers to have the mountain in his government. Yeah.
Okay, the same question to you. So what's in the mind of the script writers to this play, with the 69 MPs now behind Kithure Kindiki, exposing the deputy president?
Their mind is this.
It's a twist.
It's a twist. Two, they want to bring the perception to the DP that you have no numbers. Your people have shifted their legacy to another person. Two, you either work with me or you leave. So they are trying to drive a point to the DP.
Why Kindiki all of a sudden? Because we have got Ndindi Nyoro here and Kimani Ichung'wah, who have been fighting the DP for a very long time. Kithure Kindiki has, it's been quite silent about this. But all of a sudden, the plot of the play and the scriptwriters now dropped Kimani Ichung'wah and Ndindi Nyoro and now picked Kindiki.
You remember their preferred candidate for the DP seat was Kindiki. They voted that time when he was nominating the DP, and their preference was Kindiki. So they are just going back to their preference.
Also, I have something to add. Depending on the season or cycle, anyone could be important. During the budget making process, Ndindi Nyoro is a very important person. Because then as a member of parliament is when you get to factor in your roads, your hospitals, infrastructure, and that is the work of Ndindi Nyoro. Now that dispensation is gone. So now we are in the dispensation of Professor Kindiki. It is, as I said, if you are wise, you follow the bee to the beehive, you are likely to get nectar. And if you follow the leeward side of the mountain now, you are only going to reap the wind. So you're better off following where there is manna from heaven, then the other days can fend for themselves. And that is why I say even now, look at it this way. If I ask my grandfather now, between Kindiki and Rigathi Gachagua, to rate them 1 out of 10 on who they know well, chances are high they know Rigiji more than they know Professor Kithure Kindiki. Why? Because you see, Kindiki has not been very vocal. The only challenge the deputy president has is to convert his popularity, that popularity to become votes. That's where the challenge is. Because I can tell you, 8 out of 10 people in Murima know Rigiji. For Kindiki, it could be 5 out of 10. If you just go to a random person in the village and ask them whether they know Kindiki, they might not give you a lot about Kindiki. But when you ask them about Rigiji, they know some bit about Rigiji. But the challenge with Rigiji is converting that popularity, because you must be known in the first place. Always remember that. You must be known. So how do you convert the popularity to votes in terms of, you can say now, I am delivering this vote basket to so and so. And I think that's where the challenge for the DP is.
So what is the end game in 1 minute?
The end game is to isolate the deputy president, which I think is working pretty well. The end game is to make sure that moving into 2027, the people will realize that it will be put in such a scenario where the president will say, or it will be out there, that the president might want to choose another running mate because Rigiji is becoming a problem. Then people will say, instead of losing it and deputy president is the problem, why don't we give him Kindiki or whoever person, then we can get the deputy president seat. So I think the strategy is to isolate DP.
I still come back to the scriptwriters. David, assume you are part of the scriptwriters, you're on that table, the creatives. What do you think they're trying to achieve with this play?
That assumption is very dangerous. But this is what I would want to think. For starters, before I get to the script, one biggest error Rigiji is doing unfairly to himself is creating an impression that he is equal to the president. You know, every time he speaks, he says, I came here, you voted for me, and then president. So people voted for President William Rudd, like my colleague said, even if President Ruto took Gladys Wanga then and made him his running mate, he would still win because people had made up their mind. But the script here is to make sure we make Rigiji irrelevant by using his own tongue to mess the whole thing. For example,
the sympathy tactic might work for him.
It doesn't. It doesn't, and it won't. Why? Because Rigiji goes to Karatina, and then he says, President Ruto has spoken with Raila. I'm also talking with Uhuru. So he's trying to equate himself to the president. And that is where things became worse for him. And moving forward, even if he wanted, I'm telling you, Rigiji will not survive this one. Not unless he borrows what he said. Ulailo, stop shouting, pretend like you are foolish, make things well with your team, and then start getting the sympathy.
Now that you've referred to him, he said that he should lie low or?
Yeah, I said he has two options. One, to lie low. The other one is to fight back. I think I would go for the fight back. Because in politics, you have to find a way of coming out of it. Whether you succeed or not, you'll have done your part. Yeah, you have tried. You have tried.
The best man wins.
Okay. And also, there is let's not rule out the sympathy vote. Because what Rigiji is doing is the same script Deputy President did. And you don't know. 3 years in an election is a long time. Who knows? Maybe people in future will go back to him.
Or fight back. Do you still hold that, Wakili?
I think that there is what you call a political characterization.
Yes.
He is creating a character of his own.
That's another good part of the play. I like that.
So let him be constant with the character, because that's the consumption we have of who he is. He said this country has shareholders, maybe he was right or not. Let him continue with the characterization that he's put himself in. And the beauty is, he may sync with that character now, but politics doesn't end in 2027. It supersedes 2027. So he has a fighting chance eventually if Mlima come to terms that he is probably the option we have. Because if he changes his character now, he was a dog, then now becomes a cat, then we won't understand him, and he becomes probably a watermelon.
Thank you.
But the point is, let him continue with his character. He doesn't have to be president now. He doesn't have to be anywhere, but eventually he may get it probably 40 years to come.
You know the good thing about politics in this country? The good thing about politics in this country, every single day, there's something new to talk about. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your valid opinion on this particular, because we really had to talk about it either way and see what really happens. I'm talking about David Alul, who is a political governance and analyst as well. Wakili, joining us on the show, George Keith, he is a Wakili advocate of the High Court. Mark Ndigo is a political analyst and governance expert, as well as Eric Buturi Wadudi joining us on the show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your company. You're also a mountain climber. Get some good boots. All right, let's take a break. And we come back, I'll be back later on, and let's talk about the issue of cultivating peace in the country. I'll be talking to Reverend Samuel Kobia, who is the chair of NCIC, as well as Dr. Dan N. Odaba, who is a director, Southern Africa Institute for Economics and Peace in Kenya. Let's take a break. GMK continues after this. Good morning.